All right. Thank you and welcome to our Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 regular closed session meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. In accordance with Government Code Section 54953E, this meeting will be conducted by webinar and teleconference only. A physical location has not been provided for this meeting. And I apologize, but my wife tested positive for COVID this morning, and I thought I would take the precaution of not attending in person. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Director Coleman.
Present.
Director Katz. Director McIntosh.
Here.
Director Mellon.
Present.
Director Patterson. Director Young.
I am here.
President Lenny.
Here. If members of the public are online and wish to make public comment, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. And I heard that there are people for public comment, so.
I have 6 hands right now.
Great. For all online speakers, when prompted, please state your name, affiliation if applicable, and topic. Please refrain from providing personal information such as addresses or phone numbers during public comment. If you need this information, we'll have you contact staff. The secretary will call each speaker in the order received. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak. However, I have the discretion to amend this time based on the number of speakers. The secretary will track time and inform each speaker when the allotted time is concluded. More or less the same procedure for in-person speakers. Each speaker allotted 3 minutes.
Right. So we have, online we have Jose Perez. Jose, you should be able to unmute your mic. And your 3 minutes will start now.
Good morning. My name's Jose Perez. I work in the Pipeline Infrastructure Division here at the district. I'm also with the Local 2019. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to talk about a telecommuting petition that's been circulating throughout the district for the last few weeks. As some of you already know, this petition, which was organized by district employees, is asking the district to allow all eligible employees the option to telecommute full-time during periods of high COVID-19 infection rates. Currently, most employees who are eligible to telecommute are required to come into the office at least 1 to 2 days per week. The petition was formed in response to the ongoing concerns that many district employees have raised with contracting or spreading COVID-19 at their workplace. This has been especially true over the last few months, where we have witnessed yet another surge of COVID infections in our communities. This has also been the case at the district, where we have seen a growing number of people test positive, with nearly half of all district cases and the majority of Cal-OSHA outbreaks having occurred in the last 3 months. Unfortunately, the response from the district to all this has been very minimal. Besides getting the usual and endless emails about positive cases or reminding folks to wear a mask, no real changes have taken place to ensure we're keeping district employees as safe as possible. There should be little doubt that the best way of preventing yourself from contracting and spreading this virus is to avoid, whenever possible, staying in enclosed places with large groups of people for long periods of time. This is true regardless of your vaccination status and whether you wear a mask or not. And it should also be clear the best way of ensuring this at the district is by allowing full-time telecommuting for those that are able to. It's important to note that since telecommuting began in April 2020, district employees have continuously demonstrated their ability to complete their work duties remotely, with no significant impacts to district operations. As a coworker and as a steward, I have a responsibility to make sure that my coworkers' voices are heard and that their concerns are addressed. I am hoping that the district shares the same perspective and takes the initiative to respond to the over 330 employees that have signed the petition so far by allowing full-time telecommuting as soon as possible for those that wish to do so. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perez.
Next, we have Justin Young. Justin, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, President Lenny, Board of Directors, General Manager Chan, fellow EBMUD employees, and public. My name is Justin Young, and I'm the first VP of Local 2019, and Chair, let me get some water. Chair of Contract Note Committee. Oh man, shouldn't have the power bar. Today I'm speaking on, let me just repeat. My name is Justin Young and I'm first VP of Local 2019 and Chair of Contract Out Committee. Today I'm speaking on this power bar, man. Don't eat those nuts. Oh, okay. Today I'm speaking on a second amendment for a capital improvement project that is planned to be on consent calendar for the August 23rd board meeting. The second amendment is for San Pablo Reservoir Hypolimnetic System Project for design and engineering services during construction. This project is also referred to as HOS. The HOS project was already one of the 7 projects for the district consultant designer contracts with amendments over 25%. The board had requested earlier this year. Local 29 received original contract notice for $700,000 on September 2018. District spent $758K. On November 2019, an amendment number 1 for $300K was presented to the union. The district currently has $115,000 left on a project that is only 19% constructed. On August 23rd, 2022, 2 weeks from now, amendment number 2 will be presented by management asking for $900,000 to complete this project. Almost the same cost as the original contract and first amendment combined. When an item is on consent calendar, is the board and GM aware of how many amendments have been approved and how much has been spent on capital improvement projects they're approving? If not, we request this information is placed on consent calendar. We believe it's important the board and public know which amendments they're voting for and how much is being spent for capital improvement projects. I also support the petition for full-time telecommuting during high transmission rates of COVID-19. Thanks for the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Next, we have David Wilhite. David, you should be able to unmute your mic, and your 3 minutes will start now.
Thank you to the board of directors and all the officials at EBMUD. I'm David Wilhite. I'm a real estate broker with Intero Real Estate Services in Castro Valley, and I market a adjoining property to your vacant land on Sydney Way in Castro Valley at the present time for a client, Rick Caviglia. And you'll see a 2-page document that's been sent in. Basically, with the lot that you have on Sydney Way, it's economically landlocked at the present time because the Alameda County departments are going to require a public road to get access there. And they're going to require a 45-foot wide right-of-way that's going to be 210 feet in length approximately through Mr. Caviglia's property. And during the marketing of this property, all the buyers, whether it's a developer, whether it's someone that wants a city farm, whether it's someone that would like a church or religious facility there, they want to buy both properties at the same time. And my client has offered to purchase the property in the past as high as $805,000. And I just want you to, if you could review the appraisal that was done, there's some optimistic, faulty assumptions within it in reference to its value. And the main thing at this point is according to my client, and it's went through hearings in the past at Alameda County Board of Supervisors level, is there's only a 10-foot wide access for ingress and egress. It doesn't have full economic utility purpose. And I've been trying to put a dialogue together with your real estate department to see how we can help each other. Number one, you get your property sold, and number two, my client gets to sell his property and have some type of a win-win sales agreement or marketing agreement. And all I can say is that I've not been able to have a good verbal communication with your staff in reference to this. And, and I do believe that there's a good opportunity to get both properties sold. At the same time, my client is not adverse to working with EBMUD so that you could have full economic utility and power access to the 2.18 acre lot that's behind. So that's the reason that I'm communicating today, because all I get is, put your client's next offer in writing. And somehow we've got to get both of these parcels, if it's possible, to be integrally marketed and sold together. And that's why I'm approaching you today and communicating.
Mr.
And,
Wilhite, your 3 minutes have concluded. If you can wrap up your comments.
I'm open to questions, and I'm an experienced broker, over 42 years experience in Castro Valley, and I do specialize in fill-in construction type development too. So I'm open to questions.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Wilhite. Clifford, is there something we can do to be able to dialogue a little bit better with Mr. Wilhite?
President Liddy, my understanding right now is staff have been working with Mr. Wilhite for quite some time and have been very clear on our position as far as this property. And I would just recommend that he continue to work with staff on this issue.
All right.
Can
Thank
I
you.
answer that?
Sure, but
Okay.
we're not able to deliberate here, but of
No,
course.
I
we do wanna
understand. I'm
the
just
issue.
letting you know, they may be saying that they're working through, but they're giving me such a tight line of communication, which is just a written offer, that I can't solve the problem. I've got to have an open dialogue where we can talk to one another and try to figure out what's best for the district and also fair for my client to make things work.
So have you only had written communications with the staff? Is that correct?
In the beginning, I had some oral, but I've been shut down to where the last communication from the head of the department and, from Mr. Korn is send in a written offer. And that isn't going to work here.
This
Andrew?
isn't, we can't talk about this item. It's not agendized, and I mean, I appreciate the concern, Mr. Wilhite, but I think, let's just say this, let's take it offline for, take it to an in-person or live conversation at this point. We've got too much we got to deal with, and we can't discuss this in our session right now.
All right, so we'll ask staff to work with you further on this. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Oh, and thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm very open to work with, okay?
All right, thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Next, we have Evan Klein-Corman. You should be able to unmute your mic. And your 3 minutes will start now.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board, President Linney and GM Chan. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Evan Klein-Corman. I'm a wastewater operator journeyman at SD1 and the recording secretary of Local 444. I've been with the district for years. And well, over here at SD1, it's 4 very intense years. You guys know that we have an aging plant over here, 70 years of service, and much change has gone down. And that change includes reinforcing it for a very uncertain future. That includes a lot of contractor work and a lot of operator involvement with preparing our existing equipment for that work. It involves new training and catch up on brand new equipment that's installed, and it's involved the addition of many, many additional facilities to add to our job and the equipment for which we're responsible. Aging has caused problems. You guys already know that. I would appreciate that you've already seen the problems and breakdowns that we've experienced in the last several years. And I believe that it's only going to get worse before it gets better. The district is doing all it can, but we haven't seen the end of it. If a line ruptures, we operators are the first ones to respond. If a pump trips, and most importantly, if power outage occurs, and I only believe that because of PG&E's problems, there will be more of those. So in short, our job has gotten busier and harder, and we will see more natural and man-made disasters here at SD1. We still have yet to have a series of retirements and promotions of operators and supervisors here at the plant. When replaced, there's a delay in how long it takes to train new operators to become journeymen. And with all this, management wants to take two operator positions to reallocate to electrical technician positions. Now, let me say that we need our electricians, and I'm in favor of two new electrician positions. We need them to do very, very, very good work that we need them to do. But to pull from our operators pool is ill-advised, which is 444's position. And personally, I implore you to use whatever authority possible to work with 444. I understand that our president, Eric Larson, has had conversations with perhaps some of you earlier. I urge you to work with him and use whatever authority possible to mitigate this situation. Management has not bargained in good faith with us as far as this whole proposal on the table. They've attempted to unilaterally implement without meeting and conferring with us properly.
Mr. Klein-Corman, your 3 minutes have concluded. If you can wrap up your comments.
Thank you. So, whatever you can do to mitigate this would be greatly appreciated. And I thank you for the floor and your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Mr. Klein-Corman.
Next, we have Anna Pritt. One moment. Okay, hold on. Anna, you have an older version of Zoom.
Hello. Hi, my name is Anna Pritt. Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of the telecommuting petition presented earlier in this meeting by Jose Perez. My name is Anna Pritt. I've been an employee at the district since January 2020. I'm currently a management analyst 2 in operations and maintenance, and I'm a member of Local 21. For our current phase of the Safe Return to the Workplace plan, I have been reporting to the administration building once a week and otherwise working from home. About a month ago in early July, one of my family members tested positive for COVID-19. I was cleared to report in person since I was asymptomatic and testing negative, but chose to work from home. 2 days later, I developed symptoms and tested positive. I'm the district's 764th positive case. For the record, that's over 100 cases ago, even though it's been about a month. Because I telecommuted instead of coming to the office, my coworkers weren't exposed. Contact tracing was easier. I usually ride BART to and from the office, and none of those riders was exposed. Some work groups at the district are currently required to report in person twice a week, and I know that the next phase of the Safe Return to the Workplace plan, whenever implemented, would require work from the office more than twice a week. While cases are surging, I urge you, the board of directors, to support a more flexible telecommuting policy for those who are able to work from home. I recognize that many of my coworkers cannot work from home, but for those of us who can, who have a proven track record of getting our work done while telecommuting, I want the choice to telecommute to be available. For some, like me, it's about protecting our coworkers. For some, it's about protecting vulnerable family members. And for some, it's about being able to protect themselves. At this point in the pandemic, vaccines aren't foolproof against infection, nor are antibodies from a previous case. We need all the tools in our toolbox, and I see being able to choose to telecommute during times of high transmission as another tool. I hope you see the value in it and help us advocate for it, for our health, for our families and community members' health, and so we can continue to reliably deliver our vital work every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pritt.
Okay. Next, we have Yvette Rivera. You should be able to unmute your mic. And your 3
Thank
minutes
you,
will
Risha.
start now.
Thank you. As the district knows, I've been submitting public record requests for quite a while, since 2013. For the past 3 weeks, the district has claimed exemptions of many of the requests that I've made. And in this open board meeting, I'm asking the district to reconsider those exemptions. I find it particularly troubling that Derek McDonald's office had no problem providing me redacted copies of grievance forms, which are labeled PE-105s, but could not provide me Q-006 forms, which are discrimination and harassment forms in a redacted form, or employment applications. It's my understanding that documents used in the course of business are supposed to be public documents. I'm gonna end this by just quoting a court case, NBC Subsidiary Inc. versus Superior Court. Quote, access to public records, the courts said, makes it possible for members of the public to expose corruption, incompetence, inefficiency, prejudice, and favoritism, from 1999. Again, I believe that if the district is serious about changing the culture at East Bay MUD, I encourage you to be transparent and reconsider the exemptions. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Doug, this is John. I have a quick, not a question of Yvette. To Yvette's question, I would like if Derek could provide a memo as to what is and what can be on her questions of when she asked in the Public Records Act, the discrepancies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have George Cleveland. George, you should be able to unmute your mic. And your 3 minutes start now.
Thank you, Risha. Good morning, members of the board, general manager, anyone else in the meeting. Several things. It would be nice if Local 2019 could get a copy of that aforementioned memo, especially about business about requesting grievances. That's interesting to me and to our local. The amendment that's going to be discussed on my birthday in 2 weeks. It'd be nice if you gave a really robust discussion and really put your eyes on that one, because it seems really strange to keep spending all that type of money. And lastly, I also support our full-time telecommunications petition. I'm going to read it to you. It'll be done in less than the 3 minutes. It says, we, the undersigned, hereby petition the management and board of directors at the East Bay Municipal Utility District to allow all eligible district employees the right to telecommute full-time during periods of high transmission COVID in Alameda County. And that is high transmission equaling total new cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days is greater than equal to 100. We state or believe that the district has a responsibility to do everything it can to keep its employees safe at all times, that having employees telecommute during high peaks of COVID-19 cases reduces the chance of spreading or contracting the virus, which can pose an immediate risk or lead to long-term post-COVID-19 symptoms for employees and their families, that the district has the ability to continue operations even with all eligible employees telecommuting full-time, that the district will benefit with a reduction in costs related to exposure tracking, quarantining, COVID-19 leave, et cetera, and that full-time telecommuting should be implemented uniformly across all departments where telecommuting is possible during current and future COVID-19 high transmission periods. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, George.
Okay. Next, so that concludes our, hold on, I have a hand up. Director Coleman, you have your hand up?
Actually, I still do. I'm sorry. I should have taken it down, but I didn't know who was going to end up. I wanted to go back. I was just going to send an email, but I did have a chance to talk to Eric Larson yesterday. I wanted the board to be aware of that. He called about some of the issues that were raised about SD1. What I'd like to know is how much, I know that it's aging. I know that we have a capital improvement program, but how much are we spending in terms of fines as a result of issues that have arisen due to operators or lack of operators or equipment failures, and how we're going to be addressing those going future so we don't have the fines coming from the Regional Water Board or elsewhere. That can be done in a memo form, but I would like to know what our plan is for the future.
Can I share what, in the planning committee, and I think Eric still has a public comment to bring forward, but in the planning committee meeting, we already have directed staff on that matter and to come back on agendized, either depending on the result, either in closed or open session to discuss. So just so that you know, that it was Eric spoke in front of planning committee, and that was the direction to Clifford, our general manager.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Eric Larson. So looks like our last person for public comment.
Thank you, Risa.
You're welcome. And your 3 minutes start now.
Good morning, President Lenny and board members and General Manager Chan. Thank you for your concern over this matter. I'd like to provide comments this morning about insufficient staffing concerns in operations and maintenance at the wastewater treatment division at SD1. I've brought these concerns to the planning committee as well as to budget workshops over the past 10 years, as has my predecessor, Ruben Rodriguez. So when Director White called me on her way out the door after the 3 most significant wastewater violations that I'm aware of, to tell me she was going to reallocate 2 operator positions to electrical technicians, that is, to reduce by 2 the number of wastewater treatment operators, because, she said, we always leave some vacancies, and to convert them to electrical techs. I told her, I understand. I've been coming to the board for years. I've written a memo to the board with these concerns. And we do need additional electrical technicians, but not at the expense of operator positions. And I'll read from her justification to General Manager Chan. In her memo, she says that the majority of Maine wastewater treatment plant infrastructure was installed in the 1970s. Equipment life has been extended beyond the original anticipated lifespan in many cases, resulting in an increased maintenance burden. Issues are occurring more often and are more severe, and repairs are becoming more complicated due to unavailability of parts. In addition, major new facilities were added in 2003, 2011, 2012, and 2014. With existing electrical staffing, the repair work order backlog exceeds 24 months and is not being significantly reduced. Also, many preventative maintenance tasks are not being performed regularly because of the urgency of repair work. 2 additional electricians are recommended to improve the reliability of the Maine wastewater treatment plant and remote stations, reduce backlog of critical and non-critical repairs, and provide effective preventative maintenance for electrical equipment throughout the system. We agree. We agree that we need more electrical technicians, and we need more plant maintenance mechanics, and we need more operators, not fewer. We objected to losing 2 operators and the impact of the increased workload and increase in emergency and non-emergency overtime, burdening the remaining operators left to increasingly difficult operating conditions in decrepit and aging infrastructure. We've already been hit with over $800,000 in fines for the 3 wastewater violations, all of which are directly attributable to insufficient operation and maintenance staffing and indirectly attributable to management's failure to understand what it takes on the ground to operate and maintain our aging infrastructure. In response to our objection, management told us, quote, Strategic adjustments to project-oriented work scheduling and staffing configurations will be evaluated on an ongoing basis to mitigate operator workload and overtime impacts. This is insufficient at best, and the attitude that resulted in an $816,000 fine for the most recent wastewater violation, a mentality that fails to understand what is required to safely operate and maintain our aging infrastructure. And at present, we are at impasse.
Eric, your 3 minutes have
Thank you. I'll
concluded. If
wrap
you
up
can wrap
here.
up.
I do want to note that I had a productive discussion this morning with the interim director of wastewater treatment division that leads me to think that we may have a breakthrough and a path forward. Nonetheless, I'd like the board to remain apprised of these concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric, for bringing this to our attention. General Manager Chan, can you summarize what your understanding of the direction that the Planning Committee asked to have on this issue?
We were asked just to prepare a memo and come back to a future committee meeting to discuss this issue. And then Director Coleman asked for some additional details that we'll include in that discussion. So this will be a future discussion this year at a committee meeting to discuss this issue.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
We have no other speakers for public comment.
President Linney?
Yes.
Before you adjourn to closed session, I just want to share with you that we will defer item 1 on the closed session agenda for a future closed session meeting.
Okay, I was going to ask about that. Thank you for that clarification. With that, we'll now convene to discuss closed session agenda items, not agenda item 1. We're scheduled to return for our regular meeting at 1:15. All right, welcome everyone to Tuesday, August 9th, 2022, regular business meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. In accordance with Government Code Section 54953E, this meeting will be conducted by webinar and teleconference only. A physical location has not been provided for this meeting. I apologize for my own absence in person. My wife tested this morning for COVID, and I thought probably better that I stay at home and not expose others, although I didn't test positive myself this morning. We will receive reports from this morning's Planning and Legislative Human Resources Committee meetings under item 13. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Director Coleman. Director Katz.
Present.
Director McIntosh. Here. Director Mellon. Present. Director Patterson.
Present.
Director Young.
Present.
President Linney.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have a presentation today, a very special presentation, in recognition of EBMUD's Customer Assistance Program 35th anniversary.
Thank you. And we have Director Patterson here who will do the introduction.
Good afternoon. In lieu of the personal presence not being able to make the meeting personally, I take pleasure in today introducing not only a longtime leader of this jurisdiction, but my friend, and Barbara Lee, Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Now, EBMUD itself has been a long-time leader in developing programs to support its customers. In 1986, we secured a legislative change to make our program possible, and in 1987, our program started making East Bay Mud one of the first, if not the first utility in California to establish a customer assistance program. Our program is the most generous in the state and supports our residential customers and homeless shelters. Customers in the program receive up to 50% discount on their water and 35% discount on their wastewater charges. Today, the program helps more than 9,000 customers. The success of this program is a direct result of the East Bay MUD's forward-thinking policies on customer affordability and the hard work of many of its employees. Today, it is my honor to have Congresswoman Barbara Lee here to help us mark 35 years of East Bay MUD's work that supports the most vulnerable of our shared constituents. We are deeply appreciative of your work and support throughout the years, and also want to thank you for your sponsorship of our FY23 East Bay Water Recycling Pipeline Project, as well as your recent letter of support for our Water Smart grant application. We look forward to many more years of success with this program and our work together to support our customers. I present Congresswoman Barbara Lee.
Well, first of all, thank you very much to Director Patterson. We've been friends for many years, and I just have to thank you for your leadership on so many fronts. You have truly, you're an icon in our community, and our young people look to you to see what's possible in the community, such as my beautiful congressional district of Oakland. So thank you so much, Bill, very much. Let me say to President Lenny, hope you're doing well and your wife doing well. Nice to be with you again. President Lenny and I have been friends for over 35 years, a long time, as well as all of our board members and directors and staff. Thank you for inviting me to be with you for just a minute. You know, East Bay MUD makes me very proud, first of all. 35 years, way ahead of your time for water districts and municipal districts, which are really providing, and I just have to share this, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You know, I do a lot of work. I'm the Democratic representative to the United Nations. Goal number 6, access to clean water and sanitation. It's a basic human right. And what you have done here and with East Bay MUD is really made sure that that sustainable world goal is achieved. And so I just have to thank you on behalf of all the residents of the district, because for 35 years to be able to help in the way you've helped really does reaffirm the fact that my district believes in human rights on a magnificent scale, and you've demonstrated that. So the world, and I'm going to tell the UN and everyone else in Congress, the achievements of 35 years of making clean water for and access to making sure that people have the financial assistance to pay for their water bills, and so they'll just have access to the basics of life. So thank you very much for this. It is just really amazing that this CAP program was established in 1987 after a legislative amendment to the East Bay MUD's Act in 1986 to get this authority. And so coming forward 35 years, it's been amazing. When I learned it was at least, 27,000 households that you've been able to service, 9,000 customers. I mean, this is really a remarkable effort. And so I just wanted to present to you this special certificate of congressional recognition, and also just say how happy I am to be back here, because we had a hearing here when we released our report on childhood poverty several years ago, and I was sitting up there with some of my colleagues, and now recently a new report on equity has put Alameda County, unfortunately, the census tracts as it relates to Black and brown households in one of the highest rates of poverty and economic insecurity. And so what you're doing here, once again, you're helping residents who are struggling each and every day in all of our districts to just survive. And now with this new report out on equity, we have a lot more to do, and you all are so central to that effort. So on behalf of myself, the 13th Congressional District, I'd like to present the Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition to the East Bay Municipal Utility District in recognition of the 35th anniversary of your impactful customer assistance program. On behalf of the 13th Congressional District of California, I honor your commitment to ensuring that all residents and all constituents possess equitable access to municipal resources. Thank you all again, and continue with the great work that you're performing on behalf of the people of our district. So thank you all again. Good to be here.
Thank you, Barbara. It's such an incredible honor to have you come in person and mark this moment, this milestone for us. You give us inspiration to do great work, and I really appreciate your remarks about the UN. We do feel very strongly that water, access to clean water, is a basic human right. We're glad to be part of making sure that happens. And I also want to take this moment to thank our staff, because really, as always, our staff makes us look good. But this has been something that has been staff driven in a lot of ways. We've set policy, but the intricacies of how to make it work and dealing with the shutoffs, dealing with finding the mechanisms because of the restrictions and proposition, whatever it was now, 128 or whatever, that has made it hard for us to use ratepayer money, but have to use other forms of money, including federal support with his legislation that's passed recently, has made it very challenging. But our staff has been dogged in making it happen and expanding the program also to other cities where they also provide subsidies for low income on their waste charges, the wastewater charges and things. And so it really is a community effort. We're all blessed to have a community in the East Bay that really supports this kind of work and continues to make it possible for us to do. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you. All right.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to, first of all, there are no announcements required from closed session, but we're on to public comment. If members of the public are online and wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on non-agenda items will be heard at the beginning of the meeting. Comments on agenda items will be heard when the item is up for consideration. Madam Secretary, are there any public comment or on the line?
I don't have any hands at the moment. I have 1, 2, so hands are popping up. I have 2 at the moment, and I'm going to start with Kelly A. You should be able to unmute your mic, and your 3 minutes start now.
Yeah, one of the things that's not on your agenda is, well, it's there, but it's an agreement to spend some money on the biosolids processing services. But what's not there is a description, very much of a description. There's no discussion of what is biosolids processing. And it turns out that's very complex technical issues. There is no good way to process biosolids, but it has to be done even if there is no good way, because they get generated by the population, and sewage companies have to do that, provide that service, even if it can't be done perfectly with the current technologies that are out there. So I'd like to hear from your staff, how they deal with this issues, and what are the things that they're doing to balance all the different requirements, and what does this mean? Process the services to process biosolids. I think it really needs more discussion. And then another issue permeated throughout your management philosophy is what you're doing to your customers in terms of judgmental and derogatory wording that comes from your staff, but really, it must be sanctioned by the board of directors, about excessive water use, penalties, warning letters, limits on individual customers. This kind of proscriptive, arm twisting, public shaming, coercive measures at the level of individual customers really has no place in a free market. There needs to be a lot more consideration, a lot more respect for your customers, and there are ways to achieve conservation without resorting to that kind of coercion. Thanks.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Okay. Next, we have George Cleveland. George, you should be able to unmute your mic. Your 3 minutes will start now. George, we can't hear you. George, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm George Cleveland. I'm the Chief Steward of Aspen Local 2019. Good afternoon, President Linney, members of the board, General Manager Chan, and members of the public and other staff. I spoke in the morning about the petition that's going around for telecommuting. I just want to expand a little bit on it more because I didn't have enough time in the morning. Basically, it's born of concern of our members who are, see COVID spikes and they want to be able to work from home more. It's a matter of safety. And the reason we put it out there is also you tend to hear from the leadership of our local, like me and others. And we wanted to let you know that with roughly somewhere 350 signatures, that there is a good chunk of our membership who are concerned about what's going on and want to make sure that there is proper telecommuting. And so they're not all going to speak in the meeting, which actually is a relief to everybody because that would be one long meeting. But it was just, look, here's the concerns of our members, and we're bringing them to you in this, I'll call it a condensed format. But it is something that was not taken lightly, and it is something that we wanted management and the board to be aware of our concerns, and that's why we put it together and brought it to you. And that's all I have to say. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, George.
We have two more. We
Okay.
do. We have two more speakers for public comment. Terry, you should be able to unmute your mic. Terry? No last name?
Risha, I think that's me, and I think I accidentally raised my hand
Okay.
on the phone. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. And so next, we're going to go to Yvette Rivera. Yvette, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Thank you, Risha.
Your 3 minutes start now.
Thank you. This morning, I spoke at 2 board meetings, and I just want to put them on the record right now. At the first board meeting, the HR and Ledge meeting, I spoke about how my work group has participated in the special employment training programs for many years. And I stated that a particular concern to me was that the current 2 trainees, a Hispanic female and an African-American male, were being prevented the opportunity to receive training on driving our dump trucks, using P cards, reconciling invoices, and that it was the first time since I arrived at EBMUD in 2005 that trainees that I supervised in any kind of program like this were being denied the same training that our employees were receiving. I also went to the the 11 o'clock meeting, and I spoke about my history at East Bay MUD obtaining public records under the CPRA Act, which is the California Public Records Act. I told the district directors in attendance that I was troubled by Derek McDonald's staff denying me records. They did provide me recently redacted grievance forms, PE 105s, but will not at this point provide me redacted copies of EEO East Bay MUD discrimination and harassment complaint forms, Q-006 forms, or employment apps. I said this morning that I believed that documents used in the course of business are supposed to be public documents. I've been asking for documents, and I mentioned that this morning, since 2013. There have been times when the district has denied me access to documents, and I've had to go in and do research background, and I've had to provide court cases in order for the documents to get released. Of particular interest to, I'm sure, a lot of people would be the performance bonuses that people get throughout the district. Initially, I was refused access to those documents, and after I showed Derek McDonald case law, those documents were released, and I get them every year. I asked the board this morning if they would consider reviewing the exemptions that General Counsel provided to deny me those redacted documents. I ended by quoting a court case. And before I quote that court case and get off the line, I just want to say what I said this morning, which is if the district is serious about changing the culture at East Bay MUD, I encourage the district to be transparent. The court case says access to public records, the court said, makes it possible for members of the public to expose corruption, incompetence, inefficiency, prejudice, and favoritism. Quoting NBC subsidiary Inc. versus Superior Court case in 1999. That's all I have right now. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
We have no other speakers for public comment.
All right, public comment period is then closed. I'll move to consent calendar, items 1 through 9. Any items that need to be pulled from the consent calendar?
I would move the consent calendar. This is Frank Mellon.
Director Young will second.
All right, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote.
Director Coleman left the meeting. Director Katz?
Yes.
Director McIntosh?
Yes.
Director Mellon?
Yes.
Director Patterson?
Yes.
Director Young?
Yes.
President Lenny?
Yes. All right, consent calendar carries unanimously. We're now on to the public hearing. Items 10A and 10B. And we will conduct a public hearing to receive public comments on East Bay MUD's Public Health Goals Report for the period 2019 through 2021. The public hearing is now open. Staff will provide a presentation before we hear comments from the public.
So we have Susan Teefy here, our Manager of Water Quality, to make the presentation.
Can you hear me okay, Susan? All right, I am going to cover the Public Health Goals Report. This is a requirement for all large water systems. There we go, thank you. Large being water systems that serve more than 10,000 customers. It's been a requirement unique to California since 1998, and it's something we have to do every 3 years. So this is our 8th report. As part of the requirement is that utility has to hold a public meeting for the purpose of accepting and responding to public comment. So that's why we're here. Public health goals are not enforceable. They're based on the level of a contaminant that poses no significant public health risk. They're set by OEHA, which is the Office of Environmental Health and Hazard Assessment in California. And they basically set them roughly 1 in a million risk level. That's what they consider to be de minimis risk. There's a federal parallel called a maximum contaminant level goal. And this report that we prepared has to contain information about contaminants, regulated contaminants that are detected above either their PHG or their MCLG. The data used for this report was collected during calendar years 2019 to 2021, and it's the data that we use for demonstrating compliance with all of the drinking water standards. And during that time, we met all the applicable standards, but we did exceed 1 PHG, and that was for bromate. Bromate is a byproduct of the ozonation process. We don't make it on purpose, but it happens when we add ozone to the water, and the water has bromide in the background, naturally occurring. Ozone is used to control taste and odor compounds in the water, and it's a powerful disinfectant, and it also helps improve the filtration process. So there's good reasons for using it, even though it does periodically make a byproduct. The regulatory standard is 10 microgram per liter or parts per billion, and the PHG is 0.1, so it's 100 times lower, and that's based on a 1 in a million cancer level. We can't detect bromate at that PHG level. Our analytical detection limit is about roughly 1.5 parts per billion. And the values that we've measured in our treatment plants have ranged from right at the detection limit of 1 up to about 4.8 micrograms per liter. This graph shows all the quarters throughout this monitoring period from 2019, 2020, and 2021, each of the 3 quarters. So this is an average of the samples that were collected during that quarterly monitoring period. The red line up on the top is the maximum contaminant level of 10, and the 2 plants that add ozone, Sobrani is shown in blue, and Upper San Leandro is shown in green. So, and then it's hard to see, but the kind of orange line that's down near the bottom is the public health goal of 0.1 ppb. Bromate levels can be reduced by adding monochloramine ahead of the ozonation process. And there are a couple of capital improvement projects in the works that will allow us to do that at each of the 2 treatment plants. So we should see overall lower numbers once those projects are implemented. But we won't really be able to determine if we are complying or meeting the PHG levels until analytical capability improves. So staff recommendation is that you receive the public comments on the report and accept the PHG report. And I think that's all I have. Oops. Page up.
Now we're doing questions since both. This is Director Young. Susan, 2020, what is there, do we have a theory about the source of the bromide at higher levels in
Yeah, unfortunately not. We can't, for some of the same reasons that we can't detect bromide at really low levels, or bromate, we can't detect bromide below maybe 30 or 40 parts per billion. So we can't detect any rise in bromide in the raw water. So the only thing that we know is that we do sometimes add more ozone if we have higher TNO compounds. And during that time, we were seeing some pretty high jasmine in San Pablo Reservoir. So we were ozonating pretty hard to deal with the taste and odor causing compounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's, but it comes and goes. It depends. There's a lot of other factors that go into bromate formation. It's pH dependent. It depends on the natural organic matter too. There's other things that go into it instead of just raw water bromide levels.
Okay, because I know that for instance, Contra Costa Water District source water, very high.
Yeah, roughly
in
10 times
bromide.
higher. So they'll be in the maybe 300, 400 range,
Right.
and we'll be in the 30 or 40 range for raw water bromide. So,
But still, that's enough to trigger, if you use ozone in the process, that's enough to trigger
Exactly.
something happening.
Exactly. In those high concentrations, just a tiny ozone dose will make, sometimes they'll kick you over 10.
Right.
CCWD and ACWD are both using this raw water chloramine control mechanism pretty successfully. So we're just catching up to them in that regard.
Okay. So is that part of Orinda, or where do we, or we don't use, not using ozonation at Orinda, so it's at USL and Sobrante?
Exactly.
Okay.
Frank Mellon, if I could. I kind of use the idea that bromides are really coming up from soil or from deep ground. Am I wrong on that?
No, it's naturally occurring. So we'll see more of it in USL, for example, than we do in the McHellamy supply, because it just washes in from the dirt. The water sources in the delta that periodically get seawater, we'll see more of it. There's a lot of it in salt water, and so if you're close to brackish water sources, you'll get some influence from the seawater, and it has a lot of bromide in it.
It's part of the stuff that makes the brine so
Exactly.
unacceptable in
Exactly.
desal. Got it. Thank you, Susan.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Susan, for that presentation. All right, for the public now, if you would like to comment, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom.
We have no one on the line for public comment.
Okay, then I will request a motion for the close of the public hearing.
I'll second.
All right. I'm sorry, I didn't catch who.
Bill
made- I heard-
moved it and Marguerite seconded.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director McIntosh?
Yes.
Director Mellon?
Yes.
Director Patterson?
Yes.
Director Young?
Yes.
President Lenny?
Yes. All right, so the public hearing is now closed. The motion carries unanimously. We're now on to item 10B, to accept the public health goals report. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Frank Mellon will second.
All right, moved by Director Young, seconded by Director Mellon. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Can I just want to say one thing. I just want to note how rare it is to be in a water district with this being the only public health goal exceeded. I mean, it is really, we have great source water, but there's a lot that goes into making sure that what we get at the tap is clean and safe and of very high quality. So, really, hats off.
For me, I'm going to give a round of applause.
Ready for the roll call vote? On 10B?
Yes, please have a roll call vote.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director McIntosh?
Yes.
Director Mellon?
Yes.
Director Patterson?
Yes.
Director Young?
Yes.
President Lenny?
Yes. Okay, we're now on to, so that carries unanimously on a vote of 6-0. Determination and discussion. General Manager Chan, you want to lead us in that?
Yes, so for item 11, we're still getting about 2 to 3 employee cases a day, but I will just remind the board, nearly all the cases, not all of them, are not work-related. Overall, the number of COVID cases are falling in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. I just looked this morning, but the number of new cases per 100,000 persons in the last 7 days in Alameda County is at 33. But while the numbers are improving, we are recommending adopting the resolution to continue to hold meetings via teleconference under Government Code Section 54953E, so we can adjust our meetings as needed. And I can answer any questions, or if the board would like to move on this item.
All right. Can I have a motion then on this?
I would move the item.
Okay, moved by Director Patterson,
I'll second. Director
seconded by
Young.
Director Young. Let's have a roll call vote then.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director McIntosh?
Yes.
Director Mellon?
Yes.
Director Patterson?
Yes.
Director Young?
Yes.
President Lenny?
Yes. All right, carries unanimously on a 6-0 vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have under the General Manager Report, our drought update. I just want to share with the board that our customers are continuing to reduce their consumption. We've seen their overall savings increase from 6% in May to 12% in June to 16.5% in July. And I would say in addition, because of our long-term water supply planning and the actions that we've taken, our overall water supply is projected to be better off this year than last. Today we have a number of presenters to update you on our drought activities. Dave Briggs, Director of Operations and Maintenance, will begin the presentation.
Good afternoon, President Lenny. Hello, Board of Directors.
Dave, can I just pause for one moment? I have one hand for public comment. I just want to see what the public comment is about. Kelly A., you had a public comment?
Yeah, on the drought update by the general manager.
Okay, so we'll take your comment after the staff presentation?
Or whenever you want.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank you.
do you want me to control it? Robin, you want me to grab it from here? Okay. All right, so slide 2 contains our data depicting our water supply situation. On the top half of the slide, you can see that we're 81% of average upcountry in terms of storage. Locally here, 94% of average, and as Clifford was referring to, this year being better than last year. These figures are about 10% higher than they were last year. And then perhaps a more familiar metric for you in the lower half of slide 2, our carryover storage as we end this water year and head into the next water year. We're anticipating to be 510,000 acre feet of storage total. That has accounted for what we anticipate moving 20,000 acre feet of Placer County water, which we'll get into a little bit more detail shortly, as well as adjusting, i.e. subtracting the commitments in the lower river associated with gain share. So that's all included. If our conservation levels keep up the way they are right now, I wouldn't be surprised if that 510 is 2,000 or 3,000 acre feet higher as we roll into the next water year. By comparison, a year ago we were 435,000 acre feet, so we're going to be 75 or 80,000 acre feet higher in storage going into the next water year. And this photo shows the Folsom South Canal with the water coming in from the Sacramento River. We just began diverting the Placer County water last week. The Freeport system was offline for 4 months. We last diverted water in March. That was our CVP water from the prior year. So we waited 4 months for this water to show up. And as soon as it was available, we began pumping it. We move about 275 acre feet a day. So as of the 9th of August, by tonight, we'll probably have about 2,000 acre feet moved of the 20,000. This operation will go on continuously for a couple months. We probably will be done in early October, and this water will be delivered to our local storage reservoirs where it'll be subsequently treated later on. So everything's going well so far. And I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Thank you, Dave, and good afternoon, members of the board. So I'll give you a quick update on our water transfer agreements. As Dave mentioned, we started at Freeport last week and started diverting the Placer County transfer water. So there were a number of agreements and approvals that needed to happen for that transfer to occur, and those were completed on time. We had executed the water transfer agreement with Placer, which approved 20,000 acre feet of transfer water. Just late last month, we also received the state board order that approved the petition for the temporary 1-year transfer. And also late last month, the Bureau approved the WARNAC contract with EBMUD that was signed. In addition to that, we're also continuing to plan for transfer activities next year if conditions remain dry and if transfer water is available to supplement our supply. And those efforts include Placer as well, because we have an existing interim agreement with them in place that gives us the first right of refusal to purchase transfer water, and that could apply next year as well. We're also working with Yuba County Water Agency to extend the current agreement we have with them in Contra Costa Water District for 3 more years to 2025. There is the potential that that transfer water could be available. That would include up to 10,000 acre-feet of summer water and another up to 10,000 acre-feet of spring water. So that would keep that option open available for us in the next few years. And lastly, we also recently extended an option agreement with Sycamore Mutual Water Company for up to 6,000 acre-feet of transfer water, and that was extended from this year to next year, 2023. And no additional payments are needed because we've already made payment on the option payment earlier this year. So that's a quick summary of the transfer updates. And next, I will transition to Ana Ulloa to give you an update on state activities.
Good afternoon, board members. Regarding the recent state and federal activities, we have a couple of things to report on. On July 20th, the state board adopted emergency curtailment and reporting regulations for the Sacramento-San Joaquin Bay Delta watershed. The current regulations were set to expire this month, August 19th. So this new regulation is going to take effect for a year as soon as this one expires. On the 27th, the state board inspected the Pardín Comanche Reservoir operations to verify EBMUD's compliance with the curtailment order, as well as their reporting requirements. I'm happy to report that EBMUD was found in full compliance with both regulations. And then on the 29th, the governor met with water agencies and called for continued action to reduce urban water use and to make permanent changes to adapt to climate change. That's all I have to report. Okay, thank you. Alice?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you. I'm going to be updating you on a few items related to our drought outreach, but I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the excessive water use penalty ordinance. So just a reminder, this ordinance was activated April 26th when we moved to a stage 2 drought. For a stage 2 drought, the threshold is 132 units per 2-month billing cycle. That works out to be roughly 1,646 gallons per day, depending how many days the customer has in their exact billing cycle. And just as a reminder, since we did update the ordinance last year, when customers have a first exceedance, they get a warning letter. If they have an additional exceedance after that, it is only at that point that they would have had a violation. Now, in order to be proactive about this and let our customers know and give them a chance to course correct, in May we did send out about 13,000 courtesy notices to customers who had high use over the past year. I think there's a little bit of good news to come out of that. We did hear from some customers who were able to reduce their water use as a result of that. One customer who found a leak, another customer, for example, who agreed to have a water audit, and a couple of our staff in conservation went out and were able to work with that customer to reduce their water use significantly. So there is some good news there. Now, since the ordinance has been in effect since April, we are now getting to the point where warning letters are starting to go out. So these, again, are the official notifications that customers have had an exceedance, and that if they have an additional exceedance, they would be in violation. So through the end of July, about 1,325 of these warning letters went out to customers. And as a reminder, the way our billing system works, not all of our customers are getting their bill at the same time. Customers are in different cycles. So, customers will continue to get bills over time, and it's possible that warning letters will continue to go out. Currently, we're expecting that if there are violations, those would be going out towards the end of this month. And we've been having internal discussions about dealing with the public records process and trying to ensure that customers who are applying for appeals would have some protection from that public records process. So moving on to some happier news in terms of kind of inspiring our customers, we are going to be launching next week the I Heart My Garden Photo Challenge. We first held this contest in 2018, so this is the second time we're doing it. The idea is that customers submit before and after photos of their lawn replacement projects, and there'll be prizes awarded for different categories. We have a category for HOA Superstar, Business Superstar, Best DIY Design, Most Inspiring, etc. And then customers can also vote on the People's Choice Award. So we're expecting the contest going to run for about 6 weeks. Customers will be able to submit their photos on our website. I believe you cannot win a prize, but staff and board members can submit photos. So anybody that's done a lawn replacement that wants to submit a photo to, help inspire others, we certainly appreciate that. And of course, again, the goal of this is to inspire folks and to help promote our rebate programs. So as the general manager mentioned, we've been very happy with our customer response to the drought and the conservation numbers, but we are continuing to try to get the word out. In addition to our usual messaging through pipeline, home water reports on our website, we have expanded this year our advertising campaign. We developed a suite of new ads mostly focused on outdoor water use and promoting our lawn rebate program. So you might recall several weeks ago, we came to you with a contract for television ads. So I'm happy to say that those ads are now running. There's two. There's one focused on indoor water use, one focused on outdoor water use. And in addition, KTVU has developed a microsite. If you go to ktview.com, at the top of the page, there's a drought option. If you click on that, any story they cover having to do with drought appears on that page, including a few that have featured East Bay Mud staff. And then we also have posted some sponsored content on that page, including a story about our customer assistance program to get the word out about that. Outdoor advertising is also important, so we're utilizing some of our Clear Channel credits to get billboards and transit shelters west of Hills. And those will be primarily focused on messaging related to not overwatering and then promoting the lawn rebate program. That gives us pretty good coverage west of Hills. And then for east of Hills, we have advertising at digital kiosks at Bishop Ranch and Broadway Plaza, which is actually now up and running. We also, as part of that, part of sort of launching that advertising at Bishop Ranch, had an event 2 Sundays ago, I think it was July 31st, where staff did some tabling. We're giving out succulents. There was like a chalk artist. They have chalk festivals out there. So that was a good way to kind of, again, try to get the word out. And then, of course, we are continuing with advertising in print media in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese. So, just trying to kind of get the word out and give our customers ways to save and keep the drought front and center on people's minds. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Polk, who's going to be talking a little bit about the coordination with the state and with the media.
Good afternoon, members of the board. So we are in conversation right now with the state in planning a media event for the end of this month. The tentative date so far, well, not tentative, it's actually legit, is August 30th with Secretary Crowfoot and the general managers from regional water agencies, obviously including Clifford. And the focus of the event is going to be landscape rebates and how customers can conserve. So there'll be, it's a quick event, like half an hour, and our idea is that following the event, the media event, that we would also have a map for the media to be able to go to various gardens, perhaps a homeowners association, a residence, a business, a city, give them some options for people to interview and some live examples of some gardens that look really good. It's been a busy media week. We did a press release on the 2nd last week regarding our conservation savings at 16%. And we got a lot of really good coverage from KTVU, also from KNTV, Channel 11, and La Miranda Weekly did a piece on the value of water, and KPIX also did a piece. So we're getting lots of very positive coverage. And I'll turn it back to Alice for next steps unless there's any questions for me. Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, so next steps, as mentioned, we're going to continue to divert transfer water from Placer County Water Agency through possibly October, planning for additional water transfers next year if it is also dry. We're going to continue drought messaging via the website, social media, home water reports, and other tools. And as always, we are continuing to look for additional ways to reach out to the multifamily and HOA sector and looking for opportunities to highlight our super savers and recognize their efforts. As Andrea mentioned, we're going to continue to plan for that State Save Our Water event on the 30th. And currently we have advertising contracts in place through October. So at that point, we can reassess whether we need to do any additional advertising. And with that, I think we're available for any questions or comments.
Why don't we go ahead and take the comment from Kelly A.
Okay. Kelly, you should be able to unmute your mic. Your 3 minutes start now.
So as we just heard on one of these slides, East Bay Mud is using, this kind of judgmental, derogatory wording to impose limits, arbitrary limits on individual customers, talking about exceedances, violations, warnings, all applied at the individual customer level. It's as if we were going to go out and encourage carbon savings and gasoline conservation at the level of individual SUVs because we're going to track their usage at the gas pump. Well, that's not how we do it. That's not how it should be done. That's not how they do it. Nobody cares how many SUVs you own, and the market takes care of those things. And there's some degree of personal responsibility and individual liberty there, and that should that's not happening at East Bay Mud. The entire the micro management of conservation, it should be put in juxtaposed against the huge storage volumes that we just heard about. That you're sitting on mountains of water. Does that mean that you don't need to conserve? No. But does that mean that you can be complacent? No. But it also doesn't mean that you need to go out and impose these kind of rather arm twisting and penalties on individual customers. And then also the news coverage of what we just heard. They're quoting state leaders, are quoting East Bay Mud leadership that are looking that when the results were looking bad, everybody's kind of stayed quiet. And now that the individual monthly data points are coming in and they're looking really nice, and there's a lot more conservation going on last month or the month before that, everyone is pointing to the latest numbers, and while overlooking or ignoring the cumulative numbers of how much conservation have you done over the last year or so since this conservation order came into effect. Well, East Bay Mud hasn't been doing badly. It's done 8% conservation as of the last official reporting period in June. Statewide average is 3%, and the goal is 15%. So regardless of how much mountains of water you have sitting in those giant reservoirs, there's still a political need and mandates from the governor to conserve. And I don't think you should be doing it by going to each individual customer and telling them what to do and exactly how much water they're allowed to use. Thanks.
All right, thank you for your comments. I do want to point out that our conservation programs, our overall setting of the excessive rates, excessive water use penalties, et cetera, is governed by a set of policies that we have adopted, that we've done through workshops and otherwise, mostly tied to this number that we talked about earlier, 510,000 acre feet, the carryover storage, so that in a sense, we're not just saving water for this year, we're saving water for next year in case there's a drought again next year. Very important number. And that governs a lot of what we determine will be our programs at any one point in time. And clearly, we are encouraging our customers to conserve water. They've responded. We give them a lot of incentives to do it. It's not just the stick, so to speak. There's a lot of carrots to do that. But is also the excessive water use penalties that if some customers are using more than their fair share, if you will, we all draw on the same source of water and the same limited amount of water, then there is a penalty for that. But on the other hand, there's lots of ways that customers can conserve water and be rewarded for doing so. That's my remarks on that anyway.
I just had a question for Kelly, since he lives and pays water bills in Alameda County Water District, and he's giving us this input. Perhaps he can enlighten us as to how Alameda County Water does the very things that he is describing.
Yeah, well, East Bay Mud has been doing 8% conservation. They've been doing 7% conservation. So really, there's not that much difference among in the Bay Area water companies. San Jose Water Company, by the way, has larger surcharges. They're doing 10% conservation. But, you know, at South Coast LA, they're doing 1%. So, you know, this is, there's not a lot of variation in the Bay Area. Everybody's doing above average here.
All right, well, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
One thing that I think of our excessive use penalty as kind of a temporary fifth tier for people that are, for customers who are using more water than I can actually imagine in a single day. I mean, honestly, my house uses between 40 and 50 gallons a day with 3 adults and 1 2-year-old. And the idea that somebody could be using 1,600 or 6,000 gallons a day is beyond belief to me. So I do think that it's, you know, appropriate when we're at a time when those folks that pay, use, you know, a very small amount of water still pay. They're not seeing the surcharge doesn't affect them very much, but they're not getting rewarded for what they save either. Because the fixed charge is so large a part of their water bill, it seems only right that when we're in this time of need, that those that have been doing their part all along see some, I don't know if you want to call it justice, on the other side of the ledger when we're in as bad a situation as we are. And that's not a question for you, Mr. Kelly. That's just a comment for me.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just add one more thing, just that we didn't put in the presentation, but for those listening in, but the excessive use ordinance is required by the water code when we declare a drought emergency and we have mandatory customer rationing. It is required that we put in an excessive use penalty, and that's in the California Water Code. So, and our regulations are consistent with that. And our customers, we have asked our customers to conserve 10%. And our projections, given the savings, that we will meet that goal. Our customers will meet that goal.
Yeah, I'd like to also echo a comment on the, you know, we have a report on how our efforts getting the word out on the all of our conservation and drought response efforts, including the excessive use penalty. I definitely echo the sentiments that I love to see these public outreach efforts. I really hope that they catch buzz. We're clearly doing something right because we've hit that goal among the customers as a whole. But I am concerned about equity in that many of our customers are stepping up to do the right thing. But I'm concerned that we, by design of our own ordinance, got our warning letters out about the excessive use penalty quite late in the summer. Those letters went out at the end of July. They'll get them right around now after 1,300 customers have already been wasting water. And I questioned the reason for the warning and the grace period, and I'd like to, going forward, if we don't have a continuing state of emergency, if we do have a continuing state of emergency, the warning will not need to be reissued because we'll be in the same emergency declaration. But if we do end up going, from drought being on to drought off to drought on again, it does seem like we are losing some of the most critical time periods for some of our water wasters to be saving that water. So I'm just concerned about that. It is something that I had been disappointed about when we first adopted the amendments to the ordinance. I did think it was beneficial to apply this for the first time in stage 2, and we are learning how that works. But I thought I would make that comment that it is, we're almost through most of the summer, and some customers are just finally figuring out that we are noticing that they're wasting water. But otherwise, I think we are meeting our goal. We are meeting our obligation to assist the state in saving water, and I think that's something that we can be proud of. And I appreciate our staff's efforts in delivering that.
Thank you for your comment. And just to clarify, you are correct that customers get 1 warning letter per drought cycle. So if the drought continues, if we move to a stage 3 or 4 drought, they don't get a second warning letter. So, yeah. Are there additional comments or questions?
I do. Doug? I just
Go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to point out some history so that it all comes together. EBMUD, over the years, when there was no drought, was searching new water sources, doing all that it could within the district range to give as much water as possible to answer the drought, and answer it in a way that didn't kill off our customer base in doing so, making them have hardships. Now, if you take the years of water savings and bring them all together, you will see why our 8% may represent 20% or more. You see the combined effort and the new water being brought in for emergency purposes and the facilities that have been built around that. So I don't want to get into a contest with anybody who's critical of the year, because it would be unfair for people who were saving 10% last year to have to come in and do another 10%. That would be 20% burden on them. That would not be fair. You must have, though, on the back end, an answer to anybody who wastes water. And so that's why we have what's before us now, the excessive use, so that they can be penalized. And that's fair. So I just wanted to point that out, that this staff has done yeoman work over years. It's not a one-year operation. And we have to be grateful for being in an agency that has had that kind of foresight and really looks out for its constituents.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you for all the staff doing great work on this. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing.
Thank you. In your board packet is a summary of the board committee topics and workshops for the first half of the year, as well as a forecast of the items for the remainder of the year. Also attached is your monthly report, and I can answer any questions you may have, and at your places is the Speakers Bureau as well.
On the Speakers Bureau, there's 2 things I don't see. One is Oakland Pride, and the other is the Piedmont Harvest Festival.
Okay.
Are those, so just follow up. I think Alice has the info about the Piedmont, and I'm not clear I thought we had a truck in Pride.
Oakland Pride, I believe, Kelly, is something we are sponsoring. I don't know what the setup is, though.
Yeah, I think we...
Kelly?
Oh, sorry.
I think we're supposed to have a truck in the parade, or typically have had a truck, or the last, well,
Yes, so I
COVID
think
blur truck, COVID blur
Right.
now,
Yes.
first time.
Yes, so I believe that we don't have the WOW there, but I think that we do have a booth at the Pride event. But I'll check with Mona to double.
Yeah, and a truck. So
Oh,
what
and-
we've done in the past, we have a truck, we have a booth, but we're not sure about the water on wheels.
Yeah, I don't think we're bringing them.
Yeah, I don't think we've had water on wheels
Right.
actually
Yeah.
at Pride because of the conflict with Solano Stroll or,
Yeah, it's a very busy weekend.
yeah.
And then we'll also add the
We'll
Piedmont
talk
Harvest Festival.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I think that's just a booth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all for my reports.
That was for a vote. I don't think there was a vote on.
All right, so committee reports, minutes from,
Go ahead.
okay, the minutes from the July 12th Planning and Legislative Human Resources Committee meetings are included in your packet. We'll now receive reports from this morning's Planning and Legislative Human Resources Committee meetings. Director Yen. can
Yes,
you-
so the planning committee heard two items this morning. The annual dam safety report, and the dams are doing damn good. That's the short version. And then on the other thing we heard about, which personally is very exciting, is recycled water opportunities that we're exploring with the Central Contra Costa Sanitary District, which treats a lot of the wastewater that comes from our East of Hills jurisdictions, and they're going to be collaborating on an exploration of 6 different potential project concepts, including one direct potable reuse project, which would potentially end up putting highly treated water in the McCullamy Aqueduct for further treatment at Walnut Creek and Rinda. An indirect project which would store that same kind of water in Los Vaqueros. Increasing doing more recycled water at refineries. More satellite recycling facilities, so like golf courses and that sort of thing. A recycled water project in La Marinda, and then the potential for Central San to join Derwa as a partner, and looking at more recycled water for the San Ramon Valley. So all very exciting stuff. Both reports
right.
were accepted.
Thank you, Marguerite. Director McIntosh.
Yes, for our Legislative Human Resources Committee meeting this morning, there was only one item on the agenda, and that was diversity, equity, and inclusion, a strategic plan update. And the report spoke to our FY 2022 accomplishments and the FY 2023 implementation efforts. And what was really interesting today, there were 5 pillars in this discussion: leadership accountability, workforce diversity, inclusive culture, supplier diversity, and social responsibility. And what was really neat is that they had employees speak to each of those pillars. And so we got to see what our real on-the-line employees were thinking and feeling about moving forward with these efforts. So it was a wonderful report, and as usual, I asked Derry what did they need from us, and nothing at this point. But they will be coming back because we're going to have to do a number of things, including filling vacant positions for FY 2023. That's it.
All right, thank you for those reports. Please submit any items for future consideration to the general manager. Now we're on to director comments before we adjourn the meeting in honor of Bill Russell. Any comments, director comments?
None.
All right.
Bill just came in the room.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Bill, we're about to adjourn the meeting in honor of Boston Celtics great and NBA Hall of Famer Bill Russell, who passed away on Sunday, July 31st. I believe you wanted to make some remarks on that.
Yes, and just to be candid, in 2011, locally, Bill Russell came home and allowed us to honor him for his achievement with the Medal of Freedom. I was very proud that President Obama bestowed that award on him. And it said something special. Beyond the realms of perhaps being the greatest athlete of all time, he stood up for civil rights and justice. And in all things that he did, he made sure that was represented. Refusing to play in segregated venues, something we talked about when he was a youngster under me at the infirmary, growing up, that one day I said to the young men, you will have an opportunity to take an action or make a statement that will benefit all Americans and bring us forward. That was one opportunity he took to do that. He would not play where he could not stay with the team in the hotel and eat in the restaurants alongside them. The NBA at that point changed, and it made a statement that wherever an NBA game is played, all teams will stay intact, regardless of whether it's across the Mason-Dixon line or wherever. And that has stood the test of time. And beyond that, the demeanor of the team and the demeanor of his participation beyond sports to stand up with Dr. Martin Luther King, to do all those venues that people really didn't know about, to organize the professional ball players of color, to take a stand and make sure that on the money side, in the business, there was some equity moving things around in that venue. These are statements that no other athlete or none of my other men have done. But in honoring him, people like Joe Morgan, all of the ones who are now in the Hall of Fame, they sent letters. Many of them showed up and were here and were part of that. That's a tribute to Bill. Now, he had another side too. He was a little ornery, but he earned the right to be that because of the pressure put on him. But San Francisco University, many of them have been in touch with me since he passed away. Everybody wants to do something. A group met yesterday. I was with them, and they have some ideas about locally here. I was very proud to say EBMUD was part of that sponsorship of his homecoming. And it went from the head of California state government down, and all of them were here in the venue. Happened in the George P. Scotland Convention Center, and some people don't know who George was, but he also was instrumental in Bill's life. Head of the Park and Rec Commission, Assistant Chancellor at the University of California, and my best man at my wedding, Dale and I think I'm just giving a little bit of history of people who poured into him. And there's one person who is my mentor, was, and worked through me and George and others on the staff who worked directly with the young men, many of whom would go on to be notables. And it was her vision of community, her vision of instilling family values, doing that at the community recreation center and giving people a sense of who they are and buttressing family values. Always told my young men, no matter where you go or how high you rise, don't look to others beyond your family as close. I said, I might be a coach, or I might be a director, or whatever, but our closeness is not the same as your mother, your father, and your family. They come first. I'm a friend, but I don't ever want you to look to me beyond or before your family. Always honor them. And that's the spirit in which we went forward. It's a different world now, and some of these guys who gave so much, to remember them is very important. And I say EBMUD was there, had witnessed that part of his life, social justice, and the rest is history because it's all recorded. You see the games and you see the commentators and all the people. I provided for EBMUD staff some film from that event that I have. I've left it with the secretary. I also have some film of his playing. It may be that the Black Network wants to do something with those, but they're available. And my documentation, which I brought forward on him, I think I have a little documentation on so many of the athletes who were greatness. What I'm deeply bothered about, and it happened over the time that we were in recess, that we lost so many people, during that time, and that we have lost so many of the ones who pioneered and did great things. And using Bill as an example, EBMUD is going to follow up and send to his family a record of today and our honoring him, and make sure that's in the basket. USF and local groups, as I say, are planning things. We'll be in the mix because I'm in the mix. And I just want to say thank you for allowing this to happen and for us to honor this great man who came from deep West Oakland and went on to be on the stage of the whole world. His visits to Africa, all the countries that he went to teach basketball to young men and introduce the subject around the world. Part of this is coming back now because you get players from foreign places coming in and doing that. I just wanted to give that final and thank EBMUD. Thank you for honoring him, board and staff.
Bill, I think we also need to acknowledge your hand in all of this. And thank you for helping to bring to all of us a quality person like Bill Russell. Thank you, Bill Patterson.
Thank you.
Bill's been a wonderful mentor to so many.
As Congressman Lee acknowledged this morning.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill, so much for that piece of history and perspective on an amazing sports figure, as you said, but also someone who used that fame and the power of being a sports celebrity to some real good that way. And like other members of the board said, I'm sure a lot of that had to do with his mentors and teachers and stuff. So congratulations to you that way.
Yes.
All right, well, with that, we will adjourn in honor of Bill Russell, and our next regular board meeting will be held Tuesday, August 23rd at 2022 at 1:15. This meeting is now adjourned.